We have a bit of a breaking news story for you guys as a number of MPs, including Tory cabinet ministers and Labour shadow cabinet members, who are having their energy bills being paid for free by the taxpayer. It's time to name and shame. It's time to tell the truth about what's going on in Westminster. Now, MPs get their salaries paid for by the taxpayer. They get a good salary, just under 100k. On top of that, they get expenses, they get subsidies, they get free food and all the cheap food. Now, on top of that, they are now using the expenses mechanism to pay for their energy bills, expensive energy bills, during the cost of living crisis. So while you are sitting at home struggling to pay your bills, they're absolutely fine. Now we have a list and we're going to do name and shame, and some of these names will surprise you. Some of you will be disappointed. Some of these names that will be like, oh, I thought this was a good one. But no. At least 9 Tory cabinet members and 14 Labour shadow cabinet members are claiming expenses to pay for their energy bills, while the rest of the country suffers. Let's look at the list. Let's quickly read through these names. And you can see, if you want to pause and look at the number, how much they're actually getting their subsidies for, you can. Ben Wallace, Defence Secretary. Nick Gibb, Schools Minister. Ian Murray, Shadow Scottish Secretary for the Labour Party. Liam Byrne, of course. Guy Opperman, who is Employment Minister. James Hippie, who is Armed Forces Minister. Nascani, Business Minister. We also have James Cleverly, Foreign Secretary. Gavin Williamson, Tory MP for Staffordshire. Anne-Marie Trevelyan, Foreign Office Minister. Bridget Phillipson, Shadow Education Secretary from the Labour Party. Alistair Jack, Scottish Secretary, Tory MP. Michelle Donnellan, Education Secretary. David Rutley, Foreign Office Minister. Victoria Prentice, Attorney General. Joe Stevens, Shadow Welsh Secretary from the Labour Party. Preet Kaur Gill, Shadow International Development Secretary. Ed Miliband, Shadow Climate Change Secretary. Pat McFadden, Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Alex Chalk, Defence Minister. Suella Braverman, Home Secretary. Helen Whately, Social Care Minister. Angela Rayner, Deputy Labour Leader. Therese Coffey, Environment Secretary. John Ashworth, Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary of the Labour Party. Neil O'Brien, Health Minister. Graham Stewart, Climate Minister. Andrew Morrison, Defence Minister. Jim McMahon, Shadow Environment Secretary. Alan Campbell, the Labour Chief Whip. John Lamont, Scotland Minister. Rebecca Power, Environment Minister. Nick Thomas Simmons, Shadow International Trade Secretary. Shabana Mahmood, Labour National Campaign Coordinator. Simon Hart, Chief Whip. Justin Tomlinson, Conservative MP for North Swindon. Louise Hay, Shadow Transport Secretary. Stuart Andrew, Minister for Sports. Rachel Reeves, Shadow Chancellor. George Freeman, Business Minister. John Healey, Shadow Defence Secretary. And Andrew Mitchell, International Development Minister. Now, the shameful part of this list is the fact that the vast majority are ministers or shadow ministers. Now, the thing about ministers, government ministers, on top of their MP salary, which is, I believe, is about 78k a year, so around £80,000. On top of that, they have the expenses and subsidies for as an MP. On top of that, they get a ministerial salary. You make so much money now. And on top of that, they have all the other stuff, all the other goodies and incentives. Do you really need to use taxpayers' money to pay for your bills? Do you really think we are that stupid? This is absolutely disgusting. I don't really care who is on that list. If that list, some people will like, oh, this one, I quite like this MP or whatever. They're stealing your money. You should be outraged. I don't really care. Some of them, I've known them for a while on that list. But, if they're doing something bad, they should be called out. I don't care if they're friends or not. We'll see what's going on with that list there. We'll keep you guys posted if there's any development, any apologies, any U-turns, if they're going to give that money back or not. We'll find out soon. Let's go and take a quick break. We'll come back in half an hour and tell you guys about a scandal hitting Buckingham Palace and King Charles III. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.